Technical indicators. We can use indicators on our stock charts to help us get a sense of what's going on with a chart. One of the most popular indicators is RSI. RSI stands for the Relative Strength Index. It shows traders overbought and oversold levels. Some traders buy when a stock is oversold and they sell when it is overbought. Personally, I like to use RSI with other indicators, and I never use it as a standalone indicator, but I do believe it offers many important clues. So let's take a look at RSI. Here I am at stockcharts.com, and later on in the course I'm going to show you how to set this up. And RSI is at the top here, and we're looking at square, and notice when it goes below this 30 level, it turns red down here, okay? That indicates it's oversold. And square bottoms at that level. You see how it bottoms here? This is oversold here. And when it reaches those levels, notice square bottoms very soon. And when the indicator is above this 70 line here on the top, you see it becomes green. That means it's overbought. Now, what some traders will do is they will buy a stock when it's oversold and sell it when it's overbought. I personally don't do that. You got to be careful with some of these things because a stock could stay overbought for a very long time. Okay, so if you bought this down here and you sold it here, you missed the remainder of this move. Now, some people like to do that. Me personally, I do not make trades purely off RSI, but I like to look at RSI, especially when it's oversold. I usually don't worry too much if RSI is overbought, but I like to look at it if it's oversold because sometimes you get these bottoms like this when RSI gets oversold. And why do we get these bottoms? Because this is such a popular indicator that many traders watch to see if a stock is oversold and they look to go in and buy it when they see this type of indicator on RSI. Peloton here, very similar. We had an oversold reading in March and notice it bottoms at that point and then it goes on a tremendous run, more than doubling very quickly. Okay, so RSI is a very powerful indicator. Again, a word of warning, never make a trade purely off RSI blindly. Okay, I would not buy a stock just purely looking at RSI and say it's oversold because sometimes you will see a stock that's in a strong downtrend. It will still have an RSI oversold reading. Maybe we'll have a short rally over a few days and then fall again much more deeper. So I like to use RSI with other indicators, but I do believe it offers an important signal, especially in strong stocks. MACD is another very popular indicator. It stands for the Moving Average Convergence Divergence Indicator. You get a bullish reading when the black line crosses above the red line. Again, I never buy just with MACD signals. Some traders do. Some traders make their decisions just off MACD. Me personally, I like to use it like a clue. You know, like I'm going to be a detective and I'm put all my clues together. So I use MACD with other indicators. Let's take a look at how this MACD indicator comes into play when trading. So you have down here, you have a black line and you have a red line. So it's bullish when the black line crosses above the red line. You see over here, we get this black line crossing above the red line. That's a bullish signal. When we get that cross down here, notice Peloton bottoms and it goes on a very strong run higher. Over here, we get another cross. Peloton goes on a move higher, and we get another cross over here with that black line above the red line, and Peloton continues higher. So with MACD, what you like to see is you like to see the black line go low and then cross above the red line. Now, a lot of times when I use MACD as an indicator, I will make a buy even before the cross comes. So maybe if it's about to cross, I still will take a trade. But that's me personally. I have experience with other indicators as well and looking at price and volume. Some traders, they wait for the actual cross. But the key is just to have a general understanding. You want to see that black line go low and then cross above the red line. And MACD indicates momentum. So we use RSI to indicate if a stock is oversold or overbought. We use MACD to look at the momentum of the stock because when you start to see that black line cross above the red line, that indicates the momentum is changing from selling to buying. Chipotle we have this deep MACD cross here. By deep MACD cross, what I mean is the black line and the red line, they went very negative. You see these negative numbers here? When you see these lines go very negative and far into the negative territory, and then you get a cross like this, that's a powerful signal. It means that the momentum is really, really changing. We get this deep MACD cross here, the black line crossing above the red, and then we get a nice move higher in Chipotle. And look at this thing. This thing goes from 600 to 1200 very quickly, okay? And MACD gives a very clear visual representation of going on. So you could see it very easily. The black line is below, it's starting to turn up, and then you could see that nice cross here, and MACD heads higher. Some traders, they will sell short when the black line goes below the red line. Me personally, I don't do that. I do not short, but it does offer a signal as well if that's something that you're interested in. Notice over here we have this black line cross below the red line, and we get this deep downtrend. Over here, we don't really get that much of a downtrend. So me personally, I do not short, I just go long. But MACD is something that some traders do use to make a decision whether or not they want to short a stock. The MACD histogram also gives us some visual information. By histogram, I mean these blue bars over here. And I like to call it valleys and mountains. So what this does is it visually represents the distance between the black and the red line, okay? And what we want to do is we want to see the momentum change. We want to see that valley turn into a mountain. And just at that point when the valley is turning into the mountain and this zero line, you see the zero line over here? It goes across. When you see that cross where you finally have the first bar above the zero line, that indicates that there has been a cross and the momentum is changing. So what I love to see is I love to see when the MACD bars go up and up and up here, and the valley starts to turn into a mountain. And that's where we want to do it. When we get that cross and we get the bars over here, that's an indication that now the momentum is behind the buying. Word of warning, I never make a trade off one indicator. I try to put everything together. And I view each indicator as a clue. Okay, so like I said, some traders, they just use RSI, they just use MACD. Me personally, I don't believe in that. I like to use a few indicators together. However, here's another thing I want to put here, and I want to make sure you see this. Having too many indicators can also be a problem. So if you have 47 indicators, you're going to drive yourself crazy, right? So you don't necessarily want to just use one indicator, but you don't want to use like 27 and you drive yourself crazy and you're staring at the screen trying to figure out what's going on. So I would say, price, and we're going to talk about volume next, and MACD, and RSI, and maybe one other indicator should be more than enough. You don't need a screen full with 27 indicators. 4 or 5 indicators max, you should be good to go. Volume. Volume is a very simple indicator, but it's probably the one I use the most. And volume tells you how many shares were traded in a day. Now, volume should confirm the trend. Now, here's what I mean that volume should confirm the trend. When a stock is going up, you want to see heavy volume as it's going up. And then when it pulls back, you want to see it pull back and move down on lower volume. So volume confirms the trend. Heavy volume buying, low volume selling. Okay, now if you were going short, what you would like to see is you'd like to see heavy volume selling followed by low volume rallies. Okay, so if you see heavy selling followed by low volume rallies, that's bearish, right? And red volume bars on the chart are going to be down days. They're going to signify a down day. And on some charts, you'll see green bars for up days, and some charts you'll see black bars for up days. I also like to use a 50-day average volume to let me know if the day was an above average volume day or whether the volume for that day was below average. Okay, so let's take a look at Amazon here. So here's the volume bars for Amazon, and each one of these vertical bars represents the volume for the day. So here's the volume for Amazon on this day, right? Here's the volume for Amazon on this day. This red line here is the average volume. It's the 50-day average volume, okay? So the 50-day average volume here on this date is 5.19, and Amazon had 7.57 million shares traded that day. So what this is telling us is over the past 50 days, Amazon has averaged around 5.19 million shares traded a day. But today was an above average volume day, right? See, it's above that red line, and there were 7.57 million shares traded. That means there was something going on in Amazon that day, that there was a lot of buying going on, okay? So what we want to see when we look at volume, I like to see heavy volume on the rallies, right? So notice this here, we get heavy volume on these rallies, and then Amazon over this way, when it goes sideways, when it pulls back, it's mostly on lower volume. Sure, you get one big volume day, but it's mostly on lower volume. Okay, so again, volume should confirm the trend. We want to see heavy volume, lots of gray on these up days, and then we want to see the down days or the sideways days on lower volume, which is what we're seeing here. It's okay if you have one day that's a little heavy volume, but for the most part, we want low volume on the down days. Let's look to see how I have used volume to make some recent trades. Okay, so here I am at my Twitter, MoneyU101, and let's look at Ali. This is a trade I made recently, and volume was the key for me on this trade. So notice it had a heavy volume rally at this point, lots of volume coming in, sideways action on low volume, and then huge volume coming up here on this day. Okay, so this made me want to buy Ali. I like this. I said we saw this heavy volume rally, low volume pullback over here, and then heavy volume coming in on this day. Okay, so see it clears this 105 area of resistance on this day, July 22nd. Okay, so that's what I meant by volume confirming the trend. We see this heavy volume rally, low volume pullback, and then boom, heavy volume coming in as it makes a new high. Excellent, excellent looking chart. Let's look at Plug. Okay, Plug's another one I tweeted about recently. So Plug here, on the weekly chart, we see this heavy volume coming in over here. Then we see this low volume pullback, heavy volume on this day, right? Heavy volume on these weeks, I should say, and then low volume coming in over here, okay? So Plug is looking good over there. And on the daily chart, you could see volume, heavy volume coming in, and then sideways action here. So volume is confirming the trend. Excellent, excellent looking stock. Now let's look at AMD. AMD, I blogged about this the other day, tlivingstonblog.com. AMD had a strong breakout, and here's how I used volume on this one. Notice AMD cleared this resistance area of 58, and look at that heavy volume coming in, okay? So this tells me this is not average action going on. The average volume for AMD is 55 million. See this red line? The average volume is 55 million, and what did AMD do? 101 million. So that tells me people are really bullish on AMD, that it's up 7.61% on heavy volume, okay? So that's how I use volume with my trades. If you're interested in learning more about how I use volume, MACD, RSI, and other indicators in my trading, you can go to tlivingstonblog.com, click on store, and I have my books over here, and I also have my courses on technical analysis and how I implement my trades.